So, that was a lot messier than I thought it would be.
That's what she said!
You've made a few Pathfinder 2e characters at this point, and you're really comfortable with the system, but it's not quite the character flavor you're looking for, or you're just looking to add a little bit more detail to your character, and you've heard of these cool little things called archetypes. Optional features you can spend your class feats on instead of taking something from your class directly. So if you take something like the Blessed One archetype, you can get Lay on Hands on your wizard. This is totally cool and allows you to make custom, unique characters like nobody has ever done before, as well as just explore multiple different mechanics of the Pathfinder 2e system on your one character. But there's a problem. Archetypes cost class feats. You have to take them instead of taking one of the only 10 unique class feats you can take from your class. Now, if you're something like a spellcaster, feats aren't nearly as important to you because you have a full spell list you can use, so sacrificing a level 2 or 4 class feat on a wizard isn't going to hurt that much. But classes like marshals, your fighters, your monks, your rangers, all of those are extremely feat reliant in order to expand their capabilities, specifically in combat. So it's often really hard to make that sacrifice for certain characters. Gaining an arcane cantrip on your barbarian is awesome, but power attack is better. But what if I told you, yes you budding Pathfinder 2e player who may have played for 3 days or 3 years at this point, what if I told you about a variant rule that is so popular that I would wager 75% of the people watching this video already know about it because it has become the best way to play Pathfinder 2e. I am talking about the variant rule from GM Core, Free Archetype. Let's get into it. But first, I want to thank all of the members of the Known At Ones Patreon. Everybody on this list is pledging $10 a month to help support me, the channel, my content, and everything that comes with it. If you would like to join them on that list, there is a link in the description where you can pledge as well, and every single one of you is so sincerely appreciated. Thank you. Why am I still holding my seltzer water in this shot? So, what is Free Archetype? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. All characters get free archetype feats. At any even level, when you would gain a class feat, you also gain a free archetype feat. Now this feat, as it sounds, cannot be spent on your class and must be spent on another archetype. Your Herbalist, your Blessed One, your Beastmaster, any of those, you can take a dedication right at level 2 and still take a class feat. And let me put a lot of you at ease right now. A lot of you GMs out there might be going, whoa, players gaining twice as many feats? I'm not allowing that in my campaign. Twice as many feats equals twice as much power, right? Wrong. Archetypes as a whole are inherently way weaker than class feats. In fact, Paizo has basically made it so an archetype feat is about on equal power to a class feat of double its level. That's why if you look at any of the multi-class feats, they'll all have a feat saying you can take any feat from this class, however with a level restriction of half. For example, the Advanced Maneuver feat from the Fighter multi-class archetype says you can take any fighter feat, however treat your level as half of its current level. So if you're level 6, you can only take a first or second level fighter feat because third level feats don't exist. So when you start realizing that, it's clear that gaining 10 extra feats throughout the course of the game isn't going to add that much power because they all are sort of like half feats. So I guess you could say this makes characters 50% stronger, but because of the limited action economy of Pathfinder 2e, this is more so giving your players new options, not just better power. For example, using the arcane cantrip on a barbarian example. If they take the wizard archetype to gain an arcane cantrip, that's super cool. But they still only have 3 actions on their turn. None of those cantrips are going to be more effective than an attack that the barbarian could already do. But maybe the barbarian can pick up message. So in the middle of combat, they can communicate silently with their ally, something the barbarian could never have done in their base class, but doesn't inherently make them stronger. It makes them more versatile, and versatility is the name of the game with Free Archetype. Versatility in combat, versatility in roleplay, and versatility in character identity. We haven't gotten many archetypes yet in the remaster, but it's been pretty clear that they're not changing a whole lot, so all of the archetypes still in the Advanced Player's Guide and all of the other source books for Pathfinder so far are all still totally legal and will mesh well with the remaster. And if you look at most of them, there are so many options. And some of them really suck, but they're so flavorful, like Pirate. Seriously, they just get an attack that deals a bonus damage die only if they jump off a ship before they use it. It's so specific, but it's awesome. And of course, there are some exceptions to this. The Blessed One I mentioned earlier, just granting you lay on hands, is really powerful, and the Beastmaster archetype, giving you an animal companion no matter what class you are, is of course really strong. They're not all created equal, and some are stronger than others, but for the most part, archetype feats will not catapult a character into unstoppable territory. Look at things like Herbalist or Archaeologist. These are going to give you some skill proficiencies. Maybe in Herbalist's case, you can start preparing some really low-level healing items and alchemical items, but overall, none of these are going to be nearly as strong as the feats you have access to from your base class. And that's why we love Free Archetype. It lets you expand your character in so many different ways without breaking the game in any way. In a lot of cases, it just gives you a tangible way to enact something your character loves. Are you a bard who is so desperate to be the center of attention that it actually makes them better at what they do? Take the celebrity archetype. People know you, you crave that attention, and you will get it in completely unique ways with an archetype that expands your character themselves. It wouldn't always feel great to sacrifice a class feat to take something like this feat from celebrity, but with Free Archetype you can. And if you do still feel a little bit worried, GMs, that you're giving your players too many toys to play with, you can also play with Restricted Free Archetype. This is a form of the rule that is specifically set for certain campaigns where everyone wants to have something in common. The greatest example of this is the Strength of Thousands Adventure Path, which actually plays with Free Archetype enabled by default, where every single character gets a free archetype of a spell casting class. So you can still play a fighter in the Strength of Thousands campaign, even though it takes place in a magic school, because your fighter will guaranteed have an archetype of some spell casting method. There's also nothing wrong with talking to your table and banning certain archetypes for Free Archetype, like Beastmaster. It's completely understandable that Beastmaster is one of the strongest archetypes in the game because animal companions are great, and being able to just add that on every character in the party would be tough. An easy way to get around this if you are worried about your characters getting too strong is to say, hey, for these certain archetypes, you do need to spend your class feat, because that's something I haven't mentioned. In Free Archetype, you can forego your class feat completely to take 2 archetype feats. So maybe you say, alright, if you're gonna add Beastmaster to your character, you do need to sacrifice your class feat for that, and then use your Free Archetype feat either also on Beastmaster or somewhere else. That's a completely fine way to do it. I'll usually end up spending my class feat on an archetype feat at least once, even when playing Free Archetype. Every class has a quote-unquote dead level at some point where there's just no feats left in your class that really affect your character in a way you want them to. And this feels really bad when you don't have Free Archetype enabled, but with Free Archetype, being able to take 2 feats from the same archetype, or maybe 1 feat from 2 different archetypes, can really flesh out your character, especially depending on the direction the story has been going. Oh, you've become a beekeeper and you love bees now, like you have a portable hive on your back? Maybe you take the Swarm Keeper archetype so you can start using those bees in combat. That's just an example off the top of my head. Now, I want to explain 2 things in depth right now to help clarify for newer players. Free Archetype can be very, very confusing at first, especially if you're part of a campaign where Free Archetype is enabled and it's your first time playing. So let me explain a few things. It's actually going to be 3 things, not 2. Number 1, Free Archetype changes nothing about making a level 1 character. Don't get confused when your GM says, alright, make a level 1 character, we're using Free Archetype. It does nothing until 2nd level. So put it out of your brain if you're just learning the game. It does not matter for initial character creation. The second thing I want to explain is just to hammer home how simple this is. When you reach 2nd level, you gain a class feat, a skill feat, and a free archetype feat. Your class feat can be spent on your class, your skill feat can be spent on any skill feat, and your free archetype feat can only be spent on an archetype. At second level, that will be a dedication. Now, when you reach a higher level, maybe you won't want a class feat. Well, at any time, you can ignore the class feat to take a second archetype feat instead, and these can be from the same archetype. If you took Familiar Master at level 2, and then you reached level 4 and didn't want any of your class feats, then you could take both Familiar Conduit and Enhanced Familiar, both on that same level. I hope that makes sense. And the last thing I want to cover is the most confusing part of archetypes, especially in free archetype variant games. There is a special line of text on every single dedication in Pathfinder 2e. Quote, "You can't select another dedication feat until you have gained 2 other feats from the Familiar Master archetype," or whatever archetype you're reading. You must take a total of 3 feats from an individual archetype before you can start taking feats from another archetype. This gets a little weird in free archetype because you have so many more feats to spend, and there are some archetypes that might have a dedication at level 2 and then no other feats until level 6. What do you do then? What do you spend your free archetype feat on? Well, it is generally accepted that you can ignore this special line of text once in a free archetype game. If you hit level 4 and you want to take more archetype feats, and you can't take it in your current archetype, then you may take a new archetype ignoring this special rule. But from then on, you can only take a third archetype if you get 3 feats in one of your current archetypes. I hope that makes sense. It is a little weird to wrap your head around. At the end of the day, just keep that in mind. You may ignore the special text restricting archetype dedication feats once in a free archetype campaign. With so many feats to play with, it's very likely you will just get every single feat out of your archetype or run out of feats you even care about and want to expand quicker. So GMs, let your players ignore that special text the one time. Players, keep that in mind and think about cool archetype combinations. Free archetype is so much fun. It lets you build such unique, cool characters that no one's ever thought of before. So try it out next time you're running a one-shot or even a full campaign. I think it really shines in campaigns because characters get more and more unique the higher level you get. So that's all from me. I want to hear from you and your free archetype experiences in the comments. Tell me about your craziest, wackiest class archetype combinations. I love hearing about kooky characters in the comment section. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no nat ones.